and a returning 2022 tournament champion. On this side, we have in the final for the first time, Jonathan Gibson, Paddy Duffy, and Andrew Till. It's Dr. Trevor Clark. We will be facing a team who have been here before, for 3 years when they last won the title. So we have George Scratton, Dal Jackson, Joey Goldman, and Tom Hill. Points rest. The score for this match is Mark Gray. The reader is Mike Chesterton. Over to you.
We should also thank our tournament director, Richard Orton. Can everyone remain seated where possible? Dave, sorry, just sit down. I think it's being filmed as well, so relatively quiet. Okay. Good luck, everyone. Okay, 25, fine. Joe, can you come in or go out? You shut the door. Go out. Ready? Right. Starts number 1. An irregular regiment of mounted rifles called the BBC were the subject of the first prosecutions for war crimes in British military history for their actions in this conflict. The term khaki was first applied to a UK election held in this conflict.
That is Andrew. The Boer War.
Yes. Always 5 seconds. War War transport.
As a possible word election, sure.
And that was for power. Bonuses to my left on hellhounds. Not to be confused with the werewolf Fenrir, what is the name of the hound in Norse mythology that is chained in the cave Gnipahellir, guarding the gates of hell and is prophesied to break free at Ragnarok?
No. No, we'll pass.
Over.
7 months ago.
No, forgot it's Garm. Bonus 2. In Greek mythology, which of the neighbours of Heracles involved the capturing of Kerberos, the multi-headed dog that guards the gates of the underworld?
12.
Sorry, yeah, 12. And third part. In Hindu mythology, Sharvara and Shyama are 2 four-eyed dogs that guard the palace of which is god of death and justice, located in the realm of Naraka, analogous to hell.
Is it Yama, maybe? Yama?
Yama is correct. Starter 2, Beckman Brothers. The relationship between the Euler characteristics of 2 surfaces is described by a formula named for Hurwitz and this person. A connected complex manifold, of which the complex plane is the simplest example, defines surfaces named for this person. Usually considered the biggest unsolved problem in...
That is Jonathan.
Riemann is correct for power.
For power?
Yep, just about. Pure mathematics is the last. Space race is your bonus set. In 1961, which Soviet cosmonaut became the 2nd person to orbit the Earth, following Yuri Gagarin? His notable landmarks include completing the first multi-orbit of the Earth and being the first person to sleep, take photographs, and vomit in space.
That's not Leonov.
Incorrect, over. Tito is correct. In 1946, the US launched which insects in a V-2 rocket to a height of 102 kilometers in a suborbital flight, the first ever animals deliberately sent into space? Fruit flies. Fruit flies is correct. And part 3. Launched in March 1958, what is the name of the American satellite that was the first solar-powered object in orbit? While communications only lasted 6 years, it is the oldest man-made object remaining in orbit.
Helios or something. Solar. Helios.
Over?
Phaeton.
Not that either. It's called Vanguard 1. Vanguard. Okay, starter 3. Also serving as showrunner for the 2nd and 3rd series, this person created a comedy drama TV show about a suburban artist and mother with dissociative personality disorder titled United States of Tara. Zelda Williams' directorial debut was for a film this person co-produced and wrote the screenplay for, Lisa Frankenstein. This person later said that that film was part of the shared universe with an earlier film written by this person, Jennifer's Body. In 2020,
That is Joey.
Diablo Cody.
Diablo Cody is correct, just out of that one.
Out of power.
Yeah, 10 for that. Bonus set 3 to the right. A key industrial and academic area of Europe. Sometimes named the Silicon Valley of Germany and specialising in enterprise software, fintech and security, which IT cluster that is centred geographically around Darmstadt and named after 3 rivers is the largest in Europe? Over.
Yeah.
So it's Rhine Main.
2 out of 3. Rhine, Main, Neckar. Back to the right, to 1 Based at the Goethe University Frankfurt, which academic institution was founded in 1923 by alumnus Felix Weil, subsequently giving rise to the Frankfurt School of Thought. During World War II, it was temporarily relocated to Geneva and New York.
Institute for Social Research.
Institute, that's correct, yeah. Institute for Foreshortened. And bonus set part 3 to the right. Located in the heart of the region, on the opposite bank of the Rhine to Mannheim, the industrial city of Ludwigshafen grew up around which company headquartered there? As of 2022, it is the largest producer of non-formulated chemicals in the world by sales. BASF is correct. Back to the buzzers, starts with 4. A complex of this element and a Salem-like ligand is used in Jacobson epoxidation. A key catalyst for the decomposition of the superoxide radical, mitochondrial superoxide dismutase, SOD2, is known by a name which indicates its dependence on this group 7 metallic element, which is present in the active complex. Along with calcium, this element is the only metallic element present in the key photosynthetic enzyme OEC, or oxygen evolving complex. This metal can exist in the 8+ oxidation state, such as in the common purple-coloured potassium salt.
That is Dowd.
Manganese is correct, out of So bonus set 4 to my right. This is Team GB in the waters of Paris. In the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, Team GB won a first ever medal in artistic swimming, with silver in the women's duet event. Name either of the swimmers to achieve this landmark result.
Right, check.
I'm afraid not over.
Smith.
Kate Shortman or Izzy Ford? Back to the right. A double medalist in Tokyo 2020, which triathlete returned to Paris 2024 to help Team GB secure the bronze medal in the mixed relay in Paris. She would finish 6th in the women's individual race, with fellow Brit Beth Potter ending up on the podium. Taylor Brown is correct. And part 3. Lois Tolson and Andrea Spendolini-Syriacs won bronze in the women's synchro platform event, in which dives are conducted from what height? 10 metres is correct. Back to the buzzers with starter number 5. The fictional town of Roseville, Kansas was the setting for the first few seasons of this show that was created by Nat Hiken. One character was named because Morris Gosfield, who played him, resembled a certain breed of dog. Gosfield later voiced a similar character, Benny the Ball, in a Hanna-Barbera sitcom which parodied this show. In this comedy's 4th and final season, the setting was Camp Fremont in California after the scheming lead character discovered a map showing a gold deposit near a deserted military outpost. In an unloved...
That is Andrew. Bilker.
Bilker is finding out the Phil Silver show, or Bilker, sorry, Bilker, or... Yep, or 10. I think that's what... that's definitely a target. So bonus set 5 to 8. Alliterative 1990s racing games. Turbo Tournament was the subtitle of the second game in which a top-down racing game franchise published by Codemasters was saved for Nintendo consoles and handhelds. Like its predecessor, it featured races around bathrooms, kitchens, and saw household objects making up the track and obstacles.
Micro machines. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Micro machines.
Machines is correct. The Namco franchise Ridge Racer was notable for pioneering what racing technique in video games. In the Mario Kart franchise, this effect, which can be turned off, is achieved by holding down the R button.
Drifter power slide.
Drifting, yeah, power sliding is a point. Yeah, that's correct. Set on various public thoroughfares in California, which EA franchise, whose first release was for Sega in 1992, sees the player compete in illegal motorcycle races in which civilian vehicles and police cars are obstacles. As the title alludes to, fighting and pushing other competitors off their bikes is part of the gameplay. Road rash. Starter 6, back in the buzzers. The music video to this performer's debut single was based on The Princess and the Pea and featured a cameo by Paris Hilton. That single was I Don't Want It All. Along with Jay Park, this performer featured on Charlie XCX's Unlock It, Lock It. The lead single from this performer's eventual debut album, Feed the Beast, featured Nicki Minaj and was the Alice DJ sampling Alone. The collaboration between David Guetta and this performer interpolates Supertramp's The Logical song in When We Were Young. This performer's most successful single features a verse in which she implores her Balenciaga daddy to get her Prada and Miu Miu like Rihanna.
That is Paddy.
Kim Petras, yes.
Yeah.
Bonus at 6 to my left, on a British comedian. Which comedian played Lisa, the love interest of Neil in the In-Betweeners movie, as well as writing and co-starring in the sitcoms Drifters, playing Meg, and Avoidance, playing Claire, alongside Ramesh Ranganathan?
Who's love interest is it?
Neil.
Oh, that is. Yeah, that's Nappet. Yeah, Nappet.
Nappet's correct, Jessica Nappet. Got 2 to my left. The extended stage that is used in certain sections of which television show was renamed the Nappet after its namesake accidentally fell from it whilst attempting a magnificent walk?
Taskmaster.
This is Taskmaster. And part 3. With whom was Jessica Nappet paired in the first series of comedy survival show David Mitchell's Outsiders? This comedian and Taskmaster season 11 alumnus regularly appears on the Sky reboot of Nevermind the Buzzcocks and created the award-winning podcast Spooky Shit.
Yeah, that sounds a bit right. Maddox.
Jamali Maddox is the question. That was 2 buzzers, we started 7. One critic wrote about players of this instrument saying if one player is Jupiter, then another is Apollo. Music festivals named after that first player of this instrument include one held in Prague in the French Pyrenees and Puerto Rico's San Juan, whilst that second player of this instrument recorded with Thomas Beecham's Royal Philharmonic Orchestra on Richard Strauss's Don Quixote. With over 6.2 million subscribers on their YouTube channel, 2 Croatian players of this instrument, Luka Šulić and Stjepan Hauser, first came to fame with the cover of Smooth Criminal. Featuring in a documentary about a performance of Beethoven's Ghost Trio, along with Pinchas Zuckerman and husband Daniel Barenboim.
Sorry, you somebody played it.
I got 3 first, which is Dowd.
Cello is correct, yes.
For 10. Yeah.
We can listen to the noise.
Bonus at 7 to my right, on Nights to Remember. Which Anglo-Norman soldier was appointed regent of England upon the death of King John and the accession of Henry III? Marrying into an earldom associated with the birthplace of Henry VII, he served 5 English kings, including young Henry, recounted winning 500 tournaments and was eulogised by Stephen Langton as the best knight that ever lived. William Marshall. Which imperial knight of the Holy Roman Empire lost his arm at the wrist in the siege of Landshut? He was fitted with a prosthetic, enabling him to continue his military career for 40 more years, and was commemorated and played by Goethe more than 200 years later. Yes, from Berlin, the Iron Hand. And third part. Which Breton-born knight rose from minor nobility to become Constable of France for Charles V during the 100 Years' War? Renowned for his unconventional tactics and relentless resistance against the English, he was nicknamed the Black Dog of Roussillon. Very not.
Boys or something like that. Du Bois.
No, very not. Du Giscard. Starts at 8 battle buzzers. A theme park in this country, Cook Tobe, houses the first Beatles monument to depict the band in full. A 400-metre-long lake in this country, formed after a 1911 landslide, has a name translating as a birch tree lake because it contains a partially submerged forest. This is Lake Kaindi. Another lake in this country, whose inflows include the rivers Ili and Aksu, has 2 parts divided by the Sayesic Peninsula.
Okay, that's down.
Kazakhstan, and you were just about.
Okay, 15.
Bonus set 8 to my right. The films of Edgar Wright. Mary Elizabeth Winstead appears as Ramona Flowers, the new girlfriend of the title character of what's 2010 film directed by Edgar Wright. The film's cast reprised their roles in the 2023 animated production. Which entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe did Edgar Wright co-write the screenplay for, and was originally going to direct before he withdrew for creative differences. Peyton Reed ultimately went on to direct this 2050 release starring Paul Rudd. Ant-Man's correct. One of several actors to appear in all 3 parts of the Cornetto trilogy, which actor plays the minor role of Declan in Shaun of the Dead, a Metropolitan Sergeant in Hot Fuzz, and Oliver Chamberlain in Of the World's End. In another MCU overlap, he's played CIA agent Everett K. Ross in multiple films.
Is this
Yeah, that's Freeman.
That's correct. Okay. Stars 9 back in the buzzers. In the season that marks the most recent time Atletico Madrid were relegated from La Liga, this football player was their top scorer. This player scored the opening goal and was man of the match in the final club match played at the original Wembley. His shot deflected off a countryman and over the head of Fabian Barthez. Manuel Fernandes created a pseudonym to keep this player's signing for Campo Maiorense secret, and it stuck. His actual first name is Gerald.
Down.
Not my right. Although he played internationally for a European nation, this player was the first footballer born in South America to win the Premier League Golden Boot. Which former assistant coach to England and 2-time Burton Albion manager is a Suriname-born Dutch forward who played for Chelsea between 2000 and 2004?
Okay, that's Jonathan.
No. Jimmy Floyd has to. Something goes dead.
Yeah, and that's 0.
Yes.
Yeah, but no. Oh, no, Ned. Just recorded as a 0.
We shall move to start at 10.
Yeah.
Yes. On the buzzers, starts 10. An iconic University of Chicago class named for the theory of this thing.
Oh, that is Joey.
Sorry?
Justice.
Sorry, an iconic University of Chicago class named for the theory of this thing is taught by Kevin Murphy and previously co-taught with Gary Becker. In a series of papers by Robert Lucas, the local version of this variable conveys information that islanders may mistake for aggregate conditions. In a Milgrom and Roberts paper about signaling games with incomplete information, this variable can separate high and low types when properly structured. According to Friedrich Hayek, in a high information society, these can act to coordinate the action of different people. Under perfect competition, this is set equal to marginal cost. The early days of the COVID-19 pandemic saw rare examples of these things being negative, especially in energy markets. For a given good, the demand for a good is positively correlated with what variable whose rate of change over time is called inflation and is the P in RPI.
Okay, Andrew.
Price is correct.
For 10, I imagine.
10. So we're both at 9.
Yeah.
A 21st century act of terrorism. Counter-terrorism Special Detachment 88 was formed in 2003 in response to what act of terrorism in Southeast Asia had killed 202 people in the previous year? Bali bombing is correct, yeah. Who was president of Indonesia at the time of the 2002 Bali bombings? The first female president of Indonesia. She was the daughter of Sukarno, the declarer of Indonesian independence, and the first president. Megawati, yes, founded in 1993 and supported financially by Al-Qaeda, which Indonesian militant group who were seeking establishment of an Islamic State in Southeast Asia were behind the 2002 Bali bombings. Detachment 88 have subsequently arrested or killed many key figures within this group who announced its dissolution in 2024.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, sure. MILF.
Over.
No, this is very. Maybe like action liberation. Action liberation fund.
Very not those. Jamar Islamaya.
All right, so at the halfway stage, I will give Bloc Trébécois 170, Hornets Rest 130.
That's fine, maybe.
Not all good.
Starter 11 back on buzzers. This person, the best known and penultimate Lord High Commissioner of the Ionian Islands, is a fifth generation collateral ancestor of current Conservative MP for Mid Norfolk, Ray Freeman. This author of Studies on Homer and the Homeric Age, and whose views on Irish Home Rule were disclosed in the Hawarden Fight.
That is down.
That's in power.
In power.
Just. Player set 10 to my right. James Graham plays. Premiered at the Nottingham Playhouse in 2024, which play by James Graham is based on A Right from Wrong, the memoirs of Jacob Dunn, who in 2011 killed a stranger in an unprovoked attack.
Murder.
Not over.
Mercy.
Very not nice. Punch. Back to my right for Hornets. In 2021, Graham's play The Best of Enemies premiered at the Young Vic to some debate, a large part of which concerned the colourblind casting of which actor as conservative American commentator William F. Buckley Jr., who opposed the civil rights movement. In 2023, this actor presented a BBC documentary on blackface.
I can picture him. I saw it. He's like middle-aged.
I think he's in Canada.
American. Or no, he's not. Sorry, yeah.
Let's have it, please.
Howard.
Yes.
Yes.
And your third one. Which 2023 play tells the story of Gareth Southgate's time in charge of the men's international football team? Its name is derived from an open letter written by Southgate at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's better. Okay, starter 12, back on the buzzers. This term titles a 2015 metafictional video game that sees the player take the role of a QA tester for a video game that has been stuck in development for 20 years, as well as more generally describing the artificial reality of a game world. This two-word term commonly denotes a flexible metal or plastic device with two padded handles that can be placed between hands or thighs to maintain alignment in Pilates. An organisation of this name is presided over by Marvin Berglass, who succeeded its first female president, Megan Swan, in 2023.
That is Joey.
Magic Cycle.
That is correct. Number 10.
10 to Joey.
And we've both set on number theory. One of the oldest algorithms in use, the Euclidean algorithm, is a method for the computation of the GCD of two integers. In this context, what does GCD stand for?
Greatest common
First stated in around the 4th century CE, what is the name of the remainder theorem which states that in a set of congruences with pairwise coprime moduli, there is a solution modulo, the product of the moduli which is unique?
Chinese American family?
Yep.
Okay.
Introduced at the end of the 18th century by its namesake, when trying to prove the law of quadratic reciprocity, which multiplicative function has the values 1, minus 1, or 0, based on whether one integer is a quadratic residue modulo of another?
I don't know. I think it's a reduction. Organization.
Afraid not.
Lechon?
That is correct. Okay, starter 13. A man with the surname coached the Pittsburgh Penguins to the Stanley Cup in 1991. At the Beijing 2008 Olympic Games, the gold medalist in the balance beam had this surname. Winning with a score of 1 over par, the joint highest in event history, the 2007 Masters was won by a golfer with this surname. In May 2025, a Welsh footballer with this name scored the only goal in the match secured.
That is Paddy.
Johnson.
It is. So we go.
One useful.
I'm neutral. For 10, yes. You have a bonus set on the art and architecture of the National Gallery. Between the years of 1928 and 1952, which UK-based Russian artist created 4 large mosaics for National Gallery's entrance hall and staircase, with all of them still in place today. Mosaics by this artist are also found in the Bank of England and Westminster Cathedral.
It's probably not shit up, is it? Shit up.
I'm afraid not, it is.
Rion
Not that, it is. Forest and Redmond.
and Railroad.
Back to block. Painted directly onto the walls of the Annenberg Court of the National Gallery, Messengers is a work by Bridget Riley. Which art style? One in which she is among the best known practitioners.
Pop art.
Eventually won by Seldorf Architects, the shortlist of firms considered for the upgrade of the National Gallery's Sainsbury wing included the eponymous firm of which architect, who in 2023 became the most recent British winner of the Pritzker Prize.
Yes, it's up. Yellow pen.
Rogers.
Very not
Chipperfield. Yeah. Chipperfield.
Chipperfield. Starter 14, back in puzzles. A jam made from this foodstuff, whose World Day is 2nd of September, is known as Kaya, K-A-Y-A.
That is Joey.
Yes.
That's got to be 50.
That is 15 markers. This is on a fashion showdown. What somewhat dramatic name was given to the 1973 fashion show that featured a team of designers from the United States in competition with a team of designers from France in order to raise funds for the restoration of the historic landmark that served as the show's venue?
Carrots.
Very good, I like it.
Yeah.
Country guys.
Yeah.
The Liberty Battle.
The Battle of Versailles. Back to Rolex, alright. Which fashion publicist co-created the Battle of Versailles show alongside the Versailles creator Gerald Van de Ven? Instrumental in establishing the USA as a major player in world fashion, she also founded New York Fashion Week and the Met Gala and died at the age of 100 in 2003.
Cooper.
No?
Freeland.
Lambert. And born Hannah Golovsky, the only female fashion designer to feature in the Battle of Versailles fashion show, was which American who co-founded the Junior Sophisticates label, as well as subsequently launching her eponymous studio in the 1960s. She died of breast cancer just a year after the show.
Donna Karen.
Anne Klein. So noted players a partially descriptive answer is acceptable.
Just make it up.
Yeah. In the establishment of this facility, Geoffrey Horton represented the CGIAR, and after a successful campaign for its development, Carey Fowler is regarded as the father of this facility. The location of this facility was chosen for its low tectonic activity and permafrost, and an earlier small-scale precursor to this facility was established in the...
That is Dowd.
The Sea Bank and Svalbard.
Yes, yeah. So the Svalbard Global Sea Vault, but anything involved with seeds and Svalbard.
Yeah.
That was in just in Paris.
Just in
Yeah.
power, wow.
Your bonus set is on this is it. This is it. When I say this is it, it really means this is it. This is the final curtain call. These were the ill-fated words of which performer at a press conference at the O2 Arena in 2009.
Yeah.
Yep, musician who had worked with the Jackson family since 1979 was the intended drummer for the This Is It residency. He is known for his behind-the-back cymbal chokes and the bass drum technique that is the source of his nickname, which is also an acceptable answer.
Stumper.
Bukhara.
What's it?
Bukhara.
No, over.
Oh, yeah, that's a Purdy.
No, this is Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffat. And to the right, back to points. Arranged and released posthumously in 2009, the song with This Is It originates from 1980, but was only ever recorded by Jackson in demo form. It was intended for a duet album by which Canadian-born musician and co-writer of the song, whose other UK top 10 hits include You Are My Destiny and Put Your Head on My Shoulder.
Shall I try?
Over.
Oh, that would work, yeah.
Paul Anker, correct.
Okay, so after 15 starters, I make it a block Trevicois 200 and Hornets Rest 240.
Starter 16, back to the buzzer. A 2018 Netflix movie originally with this title, to which was later added Love Drunk, follows Harper, who flirts with a man while on a business trip abroad. This word is the last in a song title from the 2010 album Discovery, featuring the lyric, "She stay up all hours watching QVC." David.
That is Jonathan.
Ibiza is correct.
That is in power.
You have an unbelievable bonus set. Footballer Chris Kamara co-hosted which ITV game show alongside Ben Shepherd and Michelle Humes, and first aired in 2015 and featured challenges such as the Crazy Cliffhanger and Warped Wall.
Ninja Warrior.
Ninja Warrior UK. In 2010, Soccer Saturday host Jeff Stelling went live to Chris Kamara at Fratton Park and asked who had been sent off, prompting the iconic reply of "I don't know, Jeff," revealing he'd missed which Portsmouth player's dismissal, thinking instead that this player had been substituted when seeing him leave the field.
Papa Boo Boo Job.
Over.
Something from Dari.
No, that's Anthony Van Den Boer. And back to block on the left. A combination of an underactive thyroid and which other disorder caused Chris Kamara to leave Soccer Saturday in 2021. This condition affects an individual's ability to properly coordinate the muscle movements necessary for clear speech.
Hey, Asia.
No, I feel like
Asia.
not quite so praxia. Back to the buzzers, or starter 17. Between 2013 and 2017, the Secretary of State for this US state was Jason Kander, great nephew of composer John Kander. It's not Massachusetts, but Maine gained statehood thanks to a piece of legislation named for this state.
That is Paddy.
Missouri.
Missouri is correct. Okay, bonus at 16. Usually specified individually as left lateral, right lateral, third and fourth, what four connected cavities in the brain are also continuous with the spinal canal and allow the flow of cerebrospinal fluid between the brain and spine?
It's not like the meninges. No.
Meninges, Fraser?
No, it's like the.
Not that either. Ventricles. And back to block. What network of cells in the ventricles of the brain produce and secrete the majority of cerebrospinal fluid?
Alright, we'll pass.
No, okay. Thank you.
Golgi.
Choroid plexus or choroidium.
So that's one.
Yeah, that's one. And finally, to block. Ventricles are also found in the heart, forming the lower two of the four chambers. In what part of the cardiac cycle, depicted with an S on diagrams, do the ventricles contract, pumping blood through the body?
Systole.
So yeah.
Back to buzzers, and this is starter 18. When this book ends, the narrator is set on a bench in Weymouth, endeavouring to improve his bantering skills.
Now that is Jonathan.
Raise the dead. Your bonuses on 8 darts. Rising to fame on the Kenny Everett Show and Top of the Pops, the Dance Street Pop Gossip was formed by which choreographer in 1974? Which performer, then an Italia Conti student, turned down Philip's offer of a place in Hot Gossip, having made their West End debut in the 1972 musical I and Albert? She would later be Oscar nominated in the Best Supporting Actress category for her role in the 2017 film Phantom Thread. Sarah Brightman's breakthrough was the member of Hot Gossip. Later marrying Andrew Lloyd Webber, which role in the 1986 musical did she originate, with the role specifically being written for her by her then husband? Yes.
Alright, so with 2 starters remaining, I make it Block Trebecois 295 and Hornets Rest 240.
Starts 19. This artwork features the Popes Martin V and Gregory VII, as well as the anti-Pope Alexander V, while a chaperon-wearing figure may be a self-portrait based on a similar work by the artist found in the National Gallery. Their realistic depiction of near nudity having caused much offence historically, Adam and Eve are depicted at opposite edges of this work, the latter holding a citrus fruit. The spire of Utrecht Cathedral is featured on the horizon in one section of this artwork, which has been described by the Smithsonian, among others, as the first major oil painting, also called the Adoration of the Mystic Lamb, which...
That is Dowd.
Garden of Athletic.
The Adoration of the Mystic Lamb, which 12-panelled work designed and executed by Hubert and Jan van Eyck, is located in a prominent position in St. Bavo's Cathedral in the namesake third largest city.
That is Jonathan.
Again,
For 10, yeah.
so that's correct, for temperature.
No.
Unique items in pop culture. Later bought by Post Malone for $2 million, a single unique Magic the Gathering card depicting which fictional magical item was launched in 2023 by Wizards of the Coast. While it is a powerful card, it can still be countered, exiled, or tapped into uselessness, unlike its namesake, which only has a single mountain-based weakness.
The torch card.
Afraid not. No, this is the one ring. Your second. In 2013, a special edition of Grid 2, a Codemasters racing themed video game, was released in collaboration with which automobile manufacturer? Only a single copy was available and it cost £125,000, primarily because it came with this manufacturer's single-seater mono sports car painted in the game's colours.
Pagani?
No, this is BAC. And making a statement about the effect of the internet on music, only one copy of which album by the Wu-Tang Clan was ever made available for purchase. Originally built for $2 million in 2015 by infamous farmer bro Martin Shkreli, it was sold after his fraud conviction and is now owned by a group of NFT collectors.
Once upon a time, sure.
Oh, sorry, yes.
And the final starter. In February 2025, this company collaborated with Knorr to create a free limited edition stock pot with a punning name implied to contain certain ingredients that a disclaimer on Knorr's website confirms are absent. Between 2000 and 2014, this company owned the Knickerbox brand. Buckingham Palace complained to this company due to a non-endorsed advert of Queen Elizabeth in which the late monarch appeared alongside the line "4 must get one." With its first store opening in Marble Arch, this company was founded by Michael Haborn Waterfield and sold to the Gold Brothers. Named after the founder's secretary.
That is Dowd.
And Summers.
And Summers is correct. And you get bonus set on the provinces of Iran. More associated with territory outside the country, what word follows west and east the name of 2 provinces of Iran, with capital cities at Urmia and Tabriz, respectively? Azerbaijan is correct. The southeasternmost province of Iran is named Sistan and what? With minor spelling differences in the English transliterations, this word is also the name of adjoining And Western Iran has a sizable Kurdish population, and although there is a province of Kurdistan, the largest population of Kurds is actually in which city, the capital and namesake of a province south of Kurdistan? Kermanshah. Okay.
All right. I make it Hornets Rest 275, but the 2025 QLL Open Buzzer Quiz champions with 315 Block Trivia Club.